Thank you for having me, everybody. On the screen here, let's see. Get this. Whoops. Okay, I want to focus on modeling the model. We've heard so many wonderful ideas sharing out today, and I want to thank you. As the last presenter, there's one thing standing between you and that parking lot, and that's this presentation here. So I'm going to really try to engage you. That picture is myself tandem skydiving last Friday with my daughter, who requested 2 years ago, when I turn 18, Mom, I want to go skydiving. So I thought, she's going to outgrow this. We're going to try to talk some sense into her. And this was on her 18th birthday last Friday in Colorado. And I tried, so I committed. Yes, I'm all in, let's do this, 6 weeks ago. And we had to go there for a family wedding. And then I would wake up in the middle of the night panicking. What in the world did I do? And if you think about, I wanted you to think about this with your journey of committing to different initiatives with innovation. And then I tried to give her substitutes. I found this skydiving simulcast there. It's just as fun. Let's do it. Are you kidding me, Mom? No, we're doing the real thing, or I'm doing it. You don't have to do it with me. Okay, well, let's do it. And then I would pray. I'd pray for bad weather, a snowstorm, high winds, anything. Why did I commit to skydiving in midlife when I still have another child to raise besides her? Engagement. I wanted to model for her what I've asked her to do with her life, and that's to be all in, to be courageous, to be brave, to be strong in the midst of adversity, to lean into life. And live life. And so I thought, I have to model this. And I did. And it wasn't until I went to put my feet outside that plane and I realized there's no platform. And I just had to jump. And that is when I, really, did you scream? No. When I'm super, super scared or angry, I don't say a word. I know my colleagues can't believe that, but it's true. So they haven't seen me one or the other yet. But I got down and I was very, very proud of myself. And I want to say the same thing for innovation, and what everybody in this room is doing and what your colleagues and your teams back home are doing. It is, you have to just jump. And at Legacy High School, some years ago in 2012, our school district was overflowing with children, which is a great problem. Our elementaries were super full, so we moved the 6th graders up to middle school, and our middle school was 7, 8, and 9. We moved the 9th graders up to the high school, which meant the high schools would be overcrowded. And so we had a very innovative school board that pushed for a bond issue of $85 million. And the community of Bismarck said yes, with an 86% yes vote. So they were ready for 2 new elementaries and a 3rd high school. There's a lot of mixed feelings that come with a new high school, because high schools are very competitive and territorial. You've got state football championships and music programs and national merit finalists and academic teams. And when you bring another kid on the block of a high school, that can rob you of that experience. Or it can allow you to have one more kid to participate in another sports team or another music contest that wouldn't have gotten the opportunity when you add another high school. So, myself and my boss, Mr. Schmidt, as well as 12 brave staff, let's see, here they are. So that's the first staff at Legacy, and I want you to see parachute on all their backs, as well as the kids, because sending your student, your child, to a brand new high school with the words innovative attached to it is not easy when you have 2 high schools in town that are full of excellence and full of tradition, and full of so many community stories that go along with it. Why would you send your kid to something brand new that you don't even know what in the world exists, and there's not even a building yet for my child, and you say, trust us? And that's where the hard work began. The easy work was passing the bond issue. That really was. And then about 2 days, 3 days into it, it's kind of like waking up in the middle of the night skydiving, or it's committing to skydiving. What in the world are we in for now? And now they sit us down at a conference room table and say, you're not just going to be part of building a high school. You're going to open the doors of a brand new building that's innovative, and it's not gonna look like anything else we've done before, because that's what we promised the community. And that's where, when I thought about jumping off that airplane into zero platform, that's exactly what came to mind when Superintendent Usselman and Dr. Johnson said, we're going to build this school that's innovative, and we don't know how it looks, but it's gonna be done by the time, this was in October, next August when we open those doors. Okay, here we go. What does this look like? The hard work began. People love to talk about change until it's time to change. Have you ever thought about getting a new cell phone? That's why a lot of us walk around with cracked old cell phones. Because getting a new cell phone is a nuisance sometimes. And it's a learning curve for a lot of us that we don't want to take time for. However, the only two things opposed to not changing is just not changing at all. And then all of us in this room and our teachers that truly want change, we're not leaning in to our self-actualization. We're not leaning in. I was so tired of walking into school every day and seeing kids bored. I taught in a traditional setting at a high school, and I was trying to do everything I could within 50 minutes to engage them. I wanted to take them down to the St. A's Sleep Center, but there wasn't enough time in that 50 minutes. I wanted to walk down the street and expose them to everything we've been reading about in a book that was only 6 blocks away, but time didn't allow it. But yet, they needed to see that, because that's where this generation of kids wants. They're wired for meaning. They're wired to see things because that is what they've been exposed to since they've been tiny. So their brains need that. So here we go, it's time to change. And everybody wants it till it's time to do this. What do? How do you model the 4 C's, the nebulous 4 C's of collaboration, communication, critical thinking, creativity? Because you're asking these kids to do this, and you're asking these teachers to do this, but how do you model this as leaders? How do you model this as a community? How do you model this as a school board and as a state government? So that what you're asking to the people that have the boots on the ground with those kids, they feel the same way. And we were fortunate at that time when they said to build legacy, we had a patch of ground and an architect firm, and we had marching orders, and that was it. And so this was exciting. Collaboration. We went around and we collaborated with businesses, Bobcat, Innovative Center, lots of the universities, on what do you need from these kids by the time they get that graduation, that diploma, that we can help scale them up for. And they said, we need kids that can talk to one another. We need kids that are courageous enough to work through something really hard that doesn't frustrate them when they walk out the door. We need kids that can think differently beyond a cell phone. And we need people that can have hard conversations with one another and come out better on the other side. And we need kids that aren't going to jump ship on us and can manage themselves. Okay, I didn't hear anything about reading and writing, and yet that's still vital. That's still part of a grade and an ACT score. And so we set up to create a school that was going to help us deliver by the end of graduation what these people said they need from kids and graduates. One thing that was nice is a lot of bureaucracy broke down. In order for us to build Legacy High School and do something truly innovative, you really need a lot of levels of bureaucracy to go away. Because if you're going to innovate for what you're seeing your kids need now, for what your qualitative data, which is your action research, is showing you that your kids need, parents are telling you they need, the world of work and college is telling you they want and need, then you need to get rid of levels of bureaucracy that say we can do that in 18 months once it goes through 18 different hoops, okay? How can we make this happen next year and it's May and we want to implement it in August, okay? It's January and we want to try it in April. So that is one thing at whatever level you're at, what can you do to make innovation easier for kids? How can you allow the people that want to model the model you want for kids now? The change that's hardest, and I've heard it a lot today, is the mental model, okay? And what's hard is we all look at school from the experience we had, or we look at school from the experience that the parents come into. So how do you take that cemented mental model and break it down so we can rebuild it back up? Basically, how do you unlearn school to relearn what these kids in the year 2017 need, no matter what level you're at? How do we relearn school to what Dr. Jonas was saying? We need these kids to have even skills to coming into college. We need you to help us teach people how to be teachers before they even graduate from high school. And we had to really collaborate with a lot of people. We didn't have a pattern, we didn't have a recipe, but that is one of the beauties of innovation. That is one of the beauties of not having anything, and we have so many smart, intelligent people within our own community to bring together that we don't need to go far to get that. We have so many ideas sitting here today, and I'm thinking, how do we get all these ideas in one database to start looking at? Because I heard so many great things, and I want to be able to just click on that to see what that project was. The biggest thing is to work with that mental model. When we say we can't, how do we turn that into an I can instead? So one thing that we found worked for us is a little bit of dumb luck and timing. Okay, so timing can be everything. If you have the right people on the right bus, and we have it right now, you guys, with Governor Burgum, we have it with our legislator passing and allowing more funds, and we have it with the Innovative Education Award. That was a huge caveat for us. Use that, the grant, or the waiver, that's my word I'm looking for. Use that to your favor. That opens up all kinds of opportunities, and it gets rid of a lot of bureaucracy. It gets rid of time, seat time. It gets rid of what learning used to look like and what we want it to look like. So we have some good timing right now. And the other is a lot of faith in your people and faith in one another. And faith in not always having the answer, but trying it anyways to get to the answer. Building that plane as you fly it. Number 2, calculated risk. Be brave enough to take calculated risk. So I need to tell you, I did a ton of research and I did a lot of talking to people before I did skydive. And I was gonna say no, and I was gonna totally back out. Until I sat, last week we had our citywide drill for safety drill for active shooting drill. And my secretary and I got stuck in a room together for about 2 hours, which was great talk time. And so I learned her brother had skydived 66 times, and he's a doctor in New York. I said, can I call him tonight? I need to hear what he has to say. Sure, she reached out to him, call me at 6. So this is a calculated risk that we do. Talk to people, branch out. We can reach out to people around the globe to teach us different ways of trying things. I called him, he said there's like a 0% chance. If you're with people that are smart, know what they're doing, you know, I do it for the sport, but you're just doing it basically with training wheels. You're attached to somebody who knows what they're doing. And so you're gonna be just fine. Okay, I felt so much better until we were in this tiny little Cessna plane and I saw the guy's watch up at 7,000 feet. And the motor got louder and, you know, then they opened that door and I didn't see a platform. Then I thought, okay, this is really dumb. But anyways, calculated risk. Take it and do it and do not be afraid of it. And as leaders, do not be, please, push your people out that door, out that skydiving door. Push them out and tell them it's okay. You're gonna be okay. We will catch each other along the way if we make some mistakes. I asked some teachers that have been part of this now going on our 6-year journey, what are the highs and lows that you feel as a teacher going through innovation? And one teacher at first said there was no retribution. Nobody got mad at each other and nobody was in trouble. Teachers are very compliant people. They really are. And they want to please and they want to do what's right. And they don't want to get in trouble. So no retribution. And then encourage outside the box thinking. Okay, another teacher said, failure can be frustrating and defeating. That's coming from her mindset. That wasn't coming from us as administrators. Her failing forward was frustrating and defeating for her. And we had to tell her, you need to break that mindset and look at that actually as what you learned versus failing. She said, I believe it's a great way to model grit, resiliency, and learning from your mistakes. The second quote comes from one of our teachers that won an Innovative Project-Based Learning Award this year. The anatomy teacher partnered with our physical fit teacher. They didn't even share the same kids. but they modeled muscles in the fitness class, and then the anatomy kids observed their modeling and then would have to diagnose which muscles they're learning. And the two teachers that worked on this together, they were so frustrated sometimes with how to develop this lesson because they had to practice it with each other. The anatomy teacher had to watch the fitness teacher and vice versa. And she said kids would walk up on us making fools of ourselves and cheerleading us on that this is how, you can do this, you guys. Thanks for developing this for us and going through the hard work. So when I talk about modeling the model, they were vulnerable enough to let the kids see the teachers learning just probably a day before them, before the kids, what this was going to look like. So model that model and let them see you struggle through this. The ecosystem. This is our third one, and it's going to kind of spin off into some other variables, but the ecosystem matters. It's everything. And the ecosystem, is the third condition. The replacement model that you create, the culture and the climate that you create is going to be everything if your innovation is going to succeed, okay? It's not just understanding up here the concept of innovation. What does innovation really look like from a teacher-admin partnership, from an admin central office school board partnership? Are all stakeholders modeling the model that they want to get? Or do we have cemented models that we don't even subconsciously realize we have? This is where the adults need to do a ton of reflecting. If we want students to be innovative, if we want students to do the 4 C's, are we being vulnerable enough to do those 2? And are we vulnerable enough to say, we don't know, and I need your help. Collaborate with me, co-labor with me. As school board, as central office, as administrators. Okay, that's going to be a vital, vital variable in your initiative being successful. One thing I thought this was interesting from a teacher is to say that the partnership between administration and teacher, and that's where the partnership of eliminating so much bureaucracy is going to be important. You need to look at your district, and you need to look at where are levels of bureaucracy that get in the way of interventions and innovations, okay? And ask yourself, what can we get rid of in order to support your innovations more quickly in response? Because these kids only have 1 high school experience. I have 3 kids, and 1 is a senior, 1 graduated. I can't go back with my one who's 21, and he can't redefine education in high school. I remember asking his school, can you let him out for a class period and have it be a learning opportunity, and he can have evidence of learning to go watch the Donald Trump at the Energy Summit down at the Civic Center. Okay, that could be a game changer if that school says yes or no on that being more an innovative, and how can that experience transcend back into school his senior year? How could he use that? Okay, he only has 1 shot. All of us in here have different roles in this profession, but we're all community members, and we all have kids or grandkids or neighbors that we truly love. And we want them to have the best learning experience possible. And you only have 1 shot at it. This is not a dress rehearsal, folks. This is their educational career. And we hold the cards of what it's going to look like and what their experience is going to be. Are they going to love high school and be all in, or are they going to come with dragging feet? And I was tired as a teacher seeing kids bored and dragging. And I knew we can do this differently if we just change a few variables. I like what this teacher said. Being innovative and trying new things can be wildly successful. Here's what she said. We designed it, tried it, learned to make it better, and tried it again. And the last sentence that I put in yellow, I've learned that you really have to just dream and try new things. If it doesn't work, try again. Hearing this from our teachers that have been part of our very first year with just 9th graders we were at Bismarck State College. Imagine being a parent and sending your 14-year-old to Bismarck State College at this new school called Legacy, and you have no idea what you're doing. Should I transfer him to the other 2 schools that have been around and have totally proven success? That's a lot of faith. These are the 3 T's, not the 3 C's, that I think are variables to true innovation, innovation success, okay? Tinker with these 4 inputs, and you might change the mental model that exists. But tinker with just 1 or 2, and you may do a little changing, but truly all 4, I really believe what we've seen need to be looked at. The first one is trust. Let's get to trust. Whoops. Hold on. My slides are all out of whack. That's okay. Okay, first one is trust. We heard a lot today about building relationships. A lot of the people up here talked about people. People are your most valuable resource, and building that relationship of trust is the most critical thing to do in order to move an innovation ahead. You need to show up, you need to be there, you need to truly have a good read on what they need. And that's why innovation doesn't look the same anywhere, in any place, in any school, in any district. Your innovation in your school needs to look at what your kids need and what they're truly capable of. And one size doesn't fit all with innovation. Building that trust and knowing your people is vital. Secondly, time. How do you take time and make it a variable and not a constant? How do you take time and get them out of the building into the community? It was great to hear what the 3 gentlemen were doing up here by getting in the community. That is the most awesome learning. When I was walking in this morning, I said to the drone people, I said, I want to go to your camp today because this looks fun and interactive. And time, it may take 50 minutes, it may take 2 hours, but time shouldn't be something that limits you. Adjust your schedule, and that's where we adjusted ours to the flex mod. There's many models, but time should not be a limitation to an innovation. Second is technology. Technology should be there as a way to branch out to the rest of the world to learn, but it shouldn't be a make or break with technology, okay? And then the last one that I have is, hold on, turf, okay? So one thing with our school that we get asked often is when they come to visit us, do you need a brand new building to do an innovation? Absolutely not. When we were first looking at what we wanted to do with our building, we went to Westside Omaha, and they had a school that was probably built in the 60s, and they were doing the flex mod scheduling with about 2,000 kids. And so you don't need a new building. What you need is a creative mindset to say, you know what, this locker bay is not getting used anymore. Kids don't use lockers, especially with technology. Let's rip these lockers out, and this is going to be a learning space, okay? We're going to have a learning space across the street at so-and-so because it lends itself to what we want our learning purpose to be. What does learning look like within a model? Our stairwells at Legacy are a learning space. We have, at the stairwell, we have a screen come down with a projector, and so that creates space for 2 or 3 classes to come out and do presentations on the stairwell, okay? Everything can be more purposeful if you just break that mental model down of the traditional and look at it in a different light. It doesn't, and the thing about us building Legacy, we were given no more money than the other 2 schools. So our staffing is no more than the other 2 high schools in Bismarck. To fund our building is no more than the other 2 schools. But so creative thinking doesn't take more money. It takes challenging and breaking that cement and the mindset that we have. This was interesting that a teacher said, in classrooms we are fostering creativity and critical thinking. Students are more motivated. So we don't have any bells, and with our 20-minute mod schedule, kids are moving all the time. We always have pockets of kids moving. So we don't ever have a 50-minute and then a 3-minute passing time. So we don't have 1,300 kids moving at one time. It really, truly does help with behaviors. People aren't getting on each other's nerves in that 3 minutes. Kids are starting to see the why in their learning. A school district came to visit us twice last year, and one of their feedback, we asked for feedback because truly we're learning every day as well. And they said, we were so surprised at how well and mature kids were to be self-motivated to get themselves where they need to go. One of our photography Our teacher that teaches photography was collaborating with another photography teacher from another school, and they said, you mean you just let the kids go around the building and do whatever they want to do their assignment? And she said, absolutely. They're accountable to their behavior, they're accountable to their protocol and standards, and they need to come back in 40 minutes with all their assignment done. And she said they do. And the ones that don't, we create safeguards for. But we'd rather have a failure. If we're gonna have a failure, we'd rather do it in a 20-minute or a 40-minute block of public education where we can still guide them with behavior than when they go off to college and they've got a $10,000 belly flop because they don't know how to manage their time and now they're in debt. Mr. Schmidt and myself are working right now, along with our school district, on rewriting the high school transcript to be more than letters and numbers, more than standardized. We're implementing the 4 C's in the high school transcript. We want to be able to show how a student who may be a B, 3.0 GPA, may have a 20 on his or her ACT, but may be very collaborative and creative in their thinking, can still show excellence as they enter the college or the world of work or any type of training beyond that. How do we show what we're teaching kids the 4 C's? ACT does not measure them on the 4 C's. That is a disconnect that we've learned. How do we represent what we've asked of them and what the world of work has asked of these kids that we're teaching them on a high school transcript? So we're working right now to pilot how do we calibrate and how do we measure the 4 C's to put them on that high school transcript. We're working that with our district office. And so we're excited to see how that's gonna roll out. There's colleges out there that do not measure kids anymore on a GPA or a standardized test score. They measure them on different variables that we are all here for to look for answers for today. Lastly, closing, that if not us, then who? And if not now, then when do we start diving in and not just dipping our toes in a little bit? If we tinker with 1 or 2 of those 4 T's I talked about, we'll have a little bit of change. We'll meet our students halfway to where they want to go and where this group of kids is truly capable of going. If we dive all the way in, like a skydiving, you can't be jumping in like an old man into a warm bath. You've got to go you have to be all in with innovation. We had a consultant come in when we were first rumbling through this, and he said, you have 2 feet in 2 different paradigms. You have the innovative paradigm and you have the traditional paradigm. It's not working. The worlds are colliding. We had to jump all the way in to one paradigm, and it changed everything. We are now giving kids credit for they leave school with appointments with social workers, with counselors, and they get school credit for going to their therapist to work on that. That student doesn't need to work on math or reading. They need to work on themselves and trauma and social emotional. And if we have verification from that therapist that they're working their program and putting in their time, they'll get a pass-fail credit. So we're measuring kids on what they need for themselves and rewarding them for that. They still are accountable to standards in learning and math, but we are graduating kids that are healthier minded, more well-rounded for time management. They are able to talk to adults in very, very professional ways than I truly believe we were 4 or 5 years ago. And we are giving kids a high school experience, they only have one, that they truly deserve from us as adults in this world in the year 2019, 2020. And what we need to do as adults is continue to model and skill ourselves up with these 4 C's. We need to collaborate better, okay? We grew up with stand and deliver. We don't do that anymore. We need to, in fact, just sit here for 15 minutes talking doesn't even feel right anymore. But we need to we need to collaborate with each other electronically. Let's get together in different pockets that's going on, like we've seen with the groups that have been out here through different schools on an initiative. We need to be able to critically think through tough issues. When we see tough issues at our schools with our kids and in our community, we can't let that go. Because if we let it go, it's just gonna grow, and it's gonna grow exponentially faster than it ever has. That's how things are growing in our world. So we have to problem solve, and we have everything it takes in this country to do it. We just have to commit ourselves to doing it in a different way. And I can tell you, we are not perfect at our school. This is from words of a teacher here. Legacy is not a perfect model. Okay, hold on. There it is. But more teachers, including me, have been encouraged and excited to be part of any school than I've ever taught. And this teacher has taught for 40 years in 4 different schools around North Dakota. And this is somebody who's into their 60s. And she said, this is it. This is what these kids need now. And it's not perfect, but you give me the freedom to fail forward. If you want to go fast, you go alone. And I know I get impatient where I just want to get her done. I think one of the biggest mistakes we can make is going too fast just to get it done and check it off our list. Without collaborating with other people that think different than us, we're not going to hit our initiative with a full, well-rounded view. Because these kids are different from us. And we need to be able to reach our collaboration from different mindsets besides just ours. So like Governor Burgum said this morning, a task force needs to be a large group of people from varying perspectives in order to reach the full group of stakeholders that need to reach our kids in the way we want to reach them. If we want to go far, we go together. Coming together like this once a year is wonderful. We can learn from each other and have the takeaways. I loved hearing that student speak this morning, the young lady say, I need you to push me. I need you to encourage me and make me do the hard work. Listen to these kids, they want to be pushed. I was a head track coach. I remember telling one of my athletes after she ran the 800, that was a good race, Kayla. She said, that was awful, that was terrible. And I'm like, yeah, you were right. I was young, I was like 24. I'm like, you were right, that was a terrible race. We can make it better. And we broke it down specifically. These kids are smart. They know when we're truly authentic and we're leaning into them, and they know when they're not. And they deserve that in their one chance of a high school experience. Thanks for making education great in North Dakota, and I couldn't be more prouder to be part of this state of educators. Thank you. Have a great year. I went too long.